When you pick up certain items like sodas, well, certain drinks or foods that are packaged, usually, well, to give an example, let's say you want a Sprite, you expect that Sprite to taste the same as all Sprites. You ex- you expect a certain you expect the same taste every time you open a Sprite. When you see a Sprite label, you expect the same taste. Um, the same as uh, a particular burger. Let's say you want a McDonald's hamburger, a cheeseburger. You're generally going to be expecting the same taste every time you go to a McDonald's. Every time you see an arch, you're going to expect the same things. And there's a certain security in that. There's a certain reliability in that. There's a convenience in that. When you apply for certain jobs, or when you're, well, in order to work for certain jobs, bear with me, I'm going somewhere and I'm just trying to make a point very thoroughly. When you go for certain jobs, let's say like a job at a Ralph's or a Home Depot or one of those jobs, I'm pretty sure there are standards of behavior that they want people to abide by as far as dress code, as far as hygiene, um, making sure that your uniform is clean and neat and that you're wearing your uniform, making sure that your attitude and your behavior is a certain way. These are the benefits of standards, customs, and I guess I'll say repeatability. Behaviors that are good to be repeated, or behaviors that are seen as being worthy enough of being repeated continuously, whether they be in a city, in one particular city, or all over the world. I'm pretty sure many of these standards are the same. Well, you know what? I'm okay. Let me not. I really just did this spur of the moment, so bear with me. The point of what I'm trying to say is this: as it relates to religious beliefs and spiritual beliefs and customs, there are pros and cons to that, there are pros and cons to these beliefs. I mean, there are pros and cons to customs and religion. I'll start with the cons. The cons are if there are negative behaviors, or I mean, well, if there are behaviors which are overall a detriment or bad or hindering in some way, they will be spread and repeated. And it will be difficult or more difficult to stop them in comparison to a lone individual or a small group of people stopping a behavior. The positives of religion, of customs and cultural standards are, if there are positive things, or let's say beneficial things, that have stood the test of time, they can get repeated and spread. And there are certain guarantees that people can rely on because of that. So, for example, I was raised to believe in certain traditional standards of manhood. And one of those traditional standards was and is, because I still hold on to these standards, is to protect womanhood and to generally try to protect those who can't protect themselves. That's what it meant, or that was a major part of being a man. If you could not do these things, or if you were unwilling to try to do these things, that was seen as not being a man. But I've noticed that there are belief systems out here which are encouraging young men or young males not to want to become traditional men, or not to value certain standards of traditional manhood. So I'm not even really going to get into whether or not it's right or it's wrong. And I'll just say, when you see video footage of uh, of people getting assaulted and able-bodied men just standing around doing nothing, or maybe even videotaping it, stuff like that, and you believe there's something wrong with that, and you feel like someone should have done something, or you feel like it was bad that they didn't do anything, if you have values which are attacking traditional, well, that particular male value or traditional male value, that supports that. Well, that supports all of these individuals out here who believe it's okay and not a big problem to um, do nothing in the face of people getting hurt and assaulted. It's okay to just stand there, and it's okay to just videotape. I would like to see more of a separation. I would like to see a strong separation between people that think it's wrong to strengthen certain aggressive disciplines and values in men, and I would like to separate. Well, I'll put it this way. Yeah, I'm sorry. This is off the top of my head, so I'll just say this. I feel like people should be with their own kind, with their own kind of people. If you want to be around uh, people who don't value, masculine qualities or certain masculine or male qualities or values or behaviors that are seen to be masculine qualities or values traditionally, I think you should be around people who feel the same way. I think you should be in your own communities. And I feel like people who think that those values are good should be in their own communities. But, I'm not trying to just, my hope or my goal, I think I will speak about my feelings on this a little bit more. Because I want people to place a certain value on traditional structures. Traditional structures have a certain level of reliability or guarantee a certain level of reliability and benefit. Well, should I say guarantee? Well, I'll say generally or overall, for example, like having a male and female household or a mother and a father in a house, married, maybe even educated, seems to produce healthier offspring than single parent households where people are uneducated or don't have much education, and you have people coming in and out of the house as far as partners rather than a husband. Now, as far as the whole homosexual debate, that's I've thought about that for some years off and on, and I feel my thoughts on that are more like they're like don't ask, don't tell. I don't like all these parades and stuff like that, but I feel like if that's something you wanted to do, I don't think anybody should be trying to kick your door down so that you can't do it. But I'll say, I mean, there's so much to say. Maybe that's why I'm not. I just don't like where our society is heading. You have too many people out here believing that just because they feel a certain way, just because they have arrived at certain conclusions, that uh, it's okay and acceptable to demonize the values of customs and behaviors that have stood the test of time. Well, they've stood for hundreds of years. Notice I said demonize. There's nothing wrong with criticizing and disagreeing. And maybe that will make things healthier. Maybe that helps us evolve as beings. But the demonization is it's it's not it's not appropriate. It's not appropriate to think that just because you have arrived at a particular answer, that people should just shelve hundreds of years of tradition and structure just because you believe you've made some good points. I guess what's caused me to say all this stuff is I've looked at some stuff on YouTube, and it's amazing how many people out here they're just creating all of these new structures, well, all of these new standards, brand new standards that haven't uh, haven't been tested. By tested, I mean we haven't had the ability to see what happens to people who engage in these behaviors over time, over 10, 15, 20, 30, 40 years. Yeah, I could talk. Well, it's like when what gives me comfort when I walk into certain stores, I like seeing when I see somebody who looks like they abide by certain standards, They're relatively clean cut, no tats or no visible tats. Uh, they have an attitude or tone of voice like they're interested in helping me and value helping me and being of service to me. That gives me comfort. I bring up tats, and a lot of people, I'm sure, are triggered or would be triggered by that. But the reason why I bring up tattoos is because, or why I don't like tattoos and piercings, or certain tattoos and piercings. Like I don't like certain tattoos and piercings. I guess I'm like tribal stuff, and you're from that tribe. I don't really have an issue with that. I understand that. Um, but just using your body like, well, I'll put it this way, and I guess I can make this short. Exposed tattoos traditionally have gone against the standard custom of uh, decency or conservatism. By conservatism, all I'm saying is I'm not talking about a political party. I'm just talking about the standards of modesty. Like what it means to be a lady, or what it means to be a gentleman. It reminds me of, it reminds me of a funny story. This woman I knew, uh, me and her, I enjoyed talking to her. She enjoyed talking to me, and I always enjoyed talking to her. And uh, and it's funny. It's just amazing. I can go into a couple of stories. Um, it's just interesting how people have their standards and all that and their discriminations. But anyway, I had a beard as long as she knew me. And I decided to shave my beard off. When I shaved my beard off, uh, she pretty much, her whole attitude changed towards me. And she told me, she was not shy. As far as she was concerned, that was like a sign of homosexuality to shave off your beard. And she was serious. And I told her, I've done security for I don't know how many years, maybe like around 10 years at least by that point, maybe 5 to 10 years. And they require and respect having a clean face. And I want to be employable. And she didn't care about that explanation. I can tell another interesting story. This is somewhat different, slightly off the subject, but it's just interesting how people have their standards, their own individual standards, and how it affects their thought process. I was working when I was 20 years old. I was working in Torrance. Um, I was the I was working in Torrance, and our company at the time, CPS, had a an account. Well, one of the biggest accounts the company ever had, and I was a post commander for that account. It was, well, we were contracted to. You had guards who were standing in front of people's houses, making sure nobody went in their house. Well, not standing in front of their houses, but let's say parked in front of people's houses, guarding a community from, like, I guess people walking in people's houses, because there was contaminated soil, and the city, I guess, paid people to stay in motels and hotels and all that. So anyway, I was a post commander there, and I'm in charge of making sure everybody is where they're supposed to be when they're supposed to be there and all that. And I saw maybe like 3 shifts of people, and that added up to, I don't know, maybe like around 20, at least 21 guards that I would see in a day. Anyway, as you can imagine, we had quite a bit of time to talk to one another, and I spoke to one lady, and me and her ended up becoming very close. And but before we got close, she was before we got close, uh, she told me that she was told that I was a homosexual. So I asked her who said this and why. And she said this lady uh, said it, and she asked her why did she say it, and she said because he never hit on me when all the other post commanders and all the other men hit on her. That was her reason. That was her only reason. So what's interesting is me and the woman who, well, I don't want to get too specific, because like she later became, I'll just say we got very close, very close. Um, and then later I guess became like friends. As far as I'm concerned, I still consider her my friend if we ever meet up again and all that. But she's going to be my friend, period. Regardless. But it's just very interesting how people uh, why did I go in that direction? Oh yeah, it's I don't know. I guess I just went in that direction because it reminded me of it's slightly off the topic, but I don't know. It's why did I? Well, where can I go from here? Because right now I've got a beard, but I still value having a clean face. I still value having a clean face for the professionalism. I deeply respect professionalism. I respect and I value having the most professional image. Like I don't want to see a police officer or a security officer with armed with tattoos and beards and piercings and stuff like that. To me, that doesn't make me feel like this person. it doesn't make me, it makes me suspicious as to whether or not this person uh, values standards and procedures, and if they do or don't, to what degree, because you already have shown that you don't respect or place a, you don't seem to respect certain standards of, grooming, or traditional standards of proper appearance. So if I saw police looking like, pretty much police and law enforcement should look like police and law enforcement, and uh, people who commit crimes should look like people who commit crimes. Or I'll say not should, but the best way to say it is I believe people who are in positions of power should look very different than the average person. They should look like they should have the highest standards as far as appearance, so that they have, and their energy should be very different as well. They shouldn't be giving off energy as if they're just some regular random somebody off the street. Especially as it relates to law enforcement, whether you're security or military or police or whatever. You should, I should look at you and see a warrior. I should look at you and see a person of integrity. I feel like this is a person of integrity. This is a person who values law, who values order, and is strong in it. And I hate seeing, one thing I find almost disgusting is chubby, out of shape law enforcement. Now there are exceptions. Some people are heavy, but they're coordinated. They can get down. If criminals can get down, if lifelong criminals value staying in shape, so they can get down, law enforcement should definitely be the same way. And that's what makes me feel like most law enforcement is probably corrupt. Maybe these are people who they know they're not capable or willing to fight on their own, if fight at all, because maybe they'll rather just shoot you or tase you or pile on you. They can't and won't take you head on or head up. And this is why the public a large percentage of the public doesn't respect law enforcement like they should. Okay, I know I went off into another direction there, but I just don't, I walk out into these cities and I don't see, it's almost like I don't see men anymore. I don't see men. I look in people's faces and I don't see men. not men by the standards I was raised in. I see people who don't stand for anything. People who can be compromised. People who can be bought off. And their children can be bought off. And their children don't stand for much. Because look who's raising them. And the women out here. Oh my God. I never knew how evil and sick women could be. And treacherous and deceitful. Hiding under all that deception and deceit and trickery. Hiding behind a pretty face. You know, my mother always taught me to respect women and be a man and all this stuff, but I don't recall her ever telling me how sneaky and deceptive a woman can be and to guard myself. I know other men who feel the same way. We were taught to be men, but we weren't taught to beware of these women or some of these women out here. That's another topic for another day. I look at the women out here. I don't see ladies. Well, let me say this. I see ladies, but it's like, women are not held to such a high standard. Women pretty much just have to, as long as a woman is pretty much not out here, knocking people upside the head, and she's, reasonably together. People don't. The standards for women seem to be a little bit different, but again, that's a topic for another day. But as far as men are concerned, you know what? I guess I've said enough. I just had this stuff in my mind, and I don't like where we're going as a society. What are we building on? We're becoming more and more divided. People are becoming more and more sneaky. They have secret beliefs and secret values and secret systems. And you can't build a foundation on secrecy like that. You can't build a foundation like that. It's like trying to build a family and each family member knows that the other one can't be trusted. The husband and wife know that the other one might cheat. You're going to spend a lot of time and energy watching each other and not enough time building on something because you can't trust one another. And that's the future of our society. No one being able to trust one another. No one being able to invest any serious emotion in each other because we don't trust each other. It seems like everybody is a type of hiding some level of villainy and deception and corruption. And they don't think anything is wrong with it. And whoever's out here trying to stop that or reduce that, they find a way to destroy this person, to try to destroy these people. So, for a lot of you youngsters who think you're so smart, in a lot of ways you are, some ways you are, you're really good with technology. That's where you excel in your technology and well, that's a huge thing where you excel in technology and maybe certain levels of tolerance or certain types of tolerance, but too many of you want to just destroy standards that have worked and have been successful for centuries. And you hate people who try to defend them. And I mean, just you hate people who try who try to defend them with their voices. Not even because they're getting violent or necessarily hateful. They're just trying to they just disagree with you and they're trying to defend their points with their voices, and you hate them for that. The America I grew up in respected people's voices. They respected people they gave people the right to say whatever it is they wanted to say. And you have the right to say whatever it is you want to say. I don't care if a guy has swastikas all over his face and some views I don't like and a loudspeaker. He should be able to say what he wants and deal with whatever comes with that, and vice versa. Well, as long as he's not talking about breaking laws or advocating the breaking of laws, or as long as he's not as long as he's not advocating against uh, breaking of laws that by most societies would consider uh, good laws or decent laws, in my opinion. I mean, we say we have free speech, but at the same time, I mean, there are limits. But you shouldn't be afraid to step into the verbal ring and see what happens. And that's what a lot of you don't understand. That's a quality many of you do not possess. And that will hurt you in the end, because you're building on the value of, if I don't like something, I'm going to find some sneaky way to do something about it. I won't even address it head on. And I won't even try to address it. I won't try to even have a discussion about it. I'll just do something sneaky. You know, like somebody putting something in somebody's drink because they don't like them, as opposed, and while smiling in their face, as opposed to saying, hey, you know what, I don't really like your behavior and I don't want to drink with you. when you change your behavior, we can have some drinks. But until then, you keep your distance, and I'll keep mine. I'll do my job, you do yours. That's too painful. So some people, well, they think it's appropriate to, if they don't like you, don't say anything to you, just smile in your face and do something behind your back. And I'm seeing more and more of these individuals. I can see them. And if you ask, how can I see them? How do I know they have these uh, values? When you've talked to as many people as I've talked to, people are it's a science. It's like our values carry in our facial expressions, in our body language, in our phrasing, in our tone of voice. And when you've seen enough of this, you can, I'm not going to say you're 100% accurate, but you can be like 75 to 80% accurate when you, just by looking at a person, how they're wearing their clothes, how they're walking, how they speak. Some Again, you can be about, I believe I can be about some like 80 to 85% accurate. That's my opinion. And that's based on having talked to so many different types of people. You know what? Maybe I don't know about that one. Let's say maybe like 75%. I think 75% is, I'm more comfortable with that. About 75%. I'm not saying I can look at a person and tell everything that they believe, but I believe I can, well, yeah, I'm not going to go too much into that, but again, I think a lot of you people, not just the young, but a lot of the older folks too, need to backtrack and just review the standards of the past and gauge what was beneficial and what wasn't beneficial, what we should hold on to and what we should not hold on to. I mean, I guess I'm talking about all this because it seems like every time I get on YouTube, I mean, the standards. I mean, even the news, the low standards of the news, and they have high standards as it relates to physical appearance, but low standards as it relates to uh, investigative reporting. Very low standards. Very, very low standards. They don't ask enough questions. Very little follow up. And this is what pretty much definitely makes me know for sure that there's a widespread corruption throughout media, because there are so many things that can be talked about, but they want to just stick with little local light issues. When you, like, one person got killed here in one particular location, one business got robbed at one particular location. That's light. That's light. But legally considered news. So, we fall for it. We watch this stuff as if we're generally getting a whole lot of benefit from it. I liked the I like democracy. I somewhat like democracy now, somewhat, but I feel like they're also uh, corrupt. Why? The main reason is, and I'll ask the question, why would a news program that has, why would a news program that spends most of its time uh, talking about corruption of some sort, or some type of government corruption or something like that, or corporate corruption, not have any opposing viewpoint to the vaccines? Not one. So, in case you missed that, the main and a main and primary news source that focused on government and corporate corruption seemed to have no level of distrust when the same government and corporations implement uh, mandates and vaccines. I find that's too suspicious to me. Think about that again. Think about that again. Think about what I just said. I've I've consistently watched Democracy Now. Well, anybody who has consistently watched Democracy Now knows that the bulk of what they talk about is government corruption and corporate corruption. But these same people that know how much government corruption and corporate corruption is out there apparently have no suspicion, or show no suspicion, as to whether or not these vaccines and the mandates are on the up and up. Even though, they have not covered one doctor, they have not had one doctor with an opposing view. They have not shown, they have not, to the best of my knowledge, I have not seen one opposing view. So think about that. That's inconsistent. It's highly inconsistent.